So to get this lead synth sound, I'm actually going to use presence, believe it or not Mai Tai. And we're going to come into presence and we're going to go down to the vintage keys and grab this 8-bit trumpet, which immediately attracted me. Sounds like this. Let's turn off the effects. And I wanted to have a kind of bell quality, meaning where you tap the key and then it decays. That's my idea for it. And so to do that, we're going to get the release and pull it out to be like a couple of seconds maybe. And we're going to bend it way down like before. Now it has a bell quality. We're going to take the attack off a bit. And we can also pull the sustain down and draw the decay way out and bend it down in case you want to hold it. Get a bit of a longer version. Okay, so from here, we're going to do a couple of subtle modulation things just to give more of that retro vibe like we talked about before. The first is we're going to set both of these LFOs to be about 0.3. Doesn't have to be exact. And then we will say LFO 1 controls the pitch. And we're just going to do this a little bit. Right, so it shifts up and down. Just subtly. And we're also going to say LFO 2 is going to control the frequency of LFO 1. Both of these should be set to free, by the way. I should have been clear on that. And so we're going to say LFO 2 controls LFO 1 frequency, so that this rate at which the pitch shift is happening is also going to be changed by this one, just a little bit. So it doesn't always bend at the same rate. Here's an exaggeration. Sometimes it moves faster, sometimes it moves slower. Just like a real retro thing. Wouldn't actually always bend at the same rate, right? It's an interaction of many factors causing a change in that, a fluctuation in that bending. So that's what we're emulating there. We're gonna leave the sound like that, and then we are going to enhance the retro vibe even more. We're gonna come down here and grab a red light distortion. And I've set up a little preset here, which I can show you. So I'm leaving these as they were. These are also as they were. The type we're using is bad tube in stage 1. Drive is all the way to 11. And my output is down here at -15. And it just, you hear what it's doing to the sound? Let's turn that off again. Obviously it's getting way louder. But it's fuzzing it up and distorting in like an old sort of circuit broken way, right? That's the idea with that one. And then we're also going to take an EQ and we're going to strongly filter the highs and the lows out to represent it coming through like a speakerphone or some kind of tiny little speaker. So I've done that just by bringing down the high cut at 36 dB down to 2.9 or 3, let's call it. And then this one at 36 dB up to 733. And now we hear this sort of thing, right? So we're hearing the grit and stuff, but it's been squeezed into a tiny space because we're cutting these frequencies out. Something I just realized that you should make sure of as well is that your EQ comes after your distortion. We want to distort the entire signal and then filter it, not filter then distort. The difference is actually pretty substantial. Here's the wrong way around. And if I put this down here, much more like what I'm after. Now we're going to add a room reverb directly on this track, not through a send, so that we can play with the mix value and get like a really sunken sound without having to deal with sends. And I know that this reverb only is going to affect this one instrument, so it doesn't even need to be on a send because nothing else is going to be using it. So we'll come down and grab a room reverb, and I've set up a preset here that I'll walk you through just quickly. I'm using a large hall type at 13 meters. This width is 0.8, the height is 0.4. Down here, we are leaving it pretty much standard. You can always pause and take a look to make sure everything looks right to you. My pre-delay is up at 58, 3 seconds of length. Everything else is pretty much good to go. The important parts are we're in high quality mode and we're at a mix of 47%. So nearly half and half dry signal, wet signal. I want the thing to be like sunk back in this big space, and that's what we're going to use to do that. So now we have this sound. And that's going to be our lead synth. Now, as for the melody that this is going to play, it's going to play this descending line starting on E. E, D sharp, B, G sharp, F sharp. And all the notes are going to kind of ring over each other like that. And we're going to pitch bend, I have a pitch bend wheel here, up into the first note. So we're going to have it pulled down to begin with, and then release it. And we're also going to pitch down on the G sharp note. And then back up into the F sharp. These are ways you can get more life and humanness out of synths, is through the pitch bending, both the subtle LFO stuff we were doing and the literal pitch bending here, volume, swells, all the stuff that real sounds in the physical world can do, but synths often have a colder vibe because they're not being wiggled in certain ways. So we're trying to wiggle them. So I've gone ahead and recorded the line. Here's what it sounds like. Right, so right at the start of this first note, we're pitching up. This is my pitch bend curve here. And then on the G sharp, the second half of the G sharp, I've got a node right in the middle, pitching down into the start of the F sharp, pitching back up slowly to grab the top of the F sharp. This is happening at the end of bar 4 as the transition from one loop into the next. To heighten the effect, we're also going to automate the panning of the thing. So if we grab our pan knob here on this presence, right click it and say automate pan, we're going to start on the right and come across all the way left and just see how that looks. That's already pretty good. I'm going to come back a little earlier. That's the idea. And then we're going to bring it up in volume a little bit, maybe 3 or 4 dB. To finish off this lead synth, we're going to create a swell on a different note into this part. So how we're going to do that is come over here and just create something, a blank event by double clicking. And then we will add a B, which we've been using a lot in this song. And let's just get one little hit of it like this. We're also going to make sure that the panning is centered over here. And then once it is, we'll just pull this out and select it and push Control B. And that's going to give us this, which then we're going to select and push Control R to reverse, cut off the loud part of it by just dragging this in a bit, and now we get this. And we'll fade the end of it just so it doesn't click at the end, and we'll make sure it's sent into the instrument bus, which it is, and we'll also put that reverb on it like this. And now we can use this to fade in to the first note of our thing. So we just want to align it correctly so it ends right when that's happening. And then we're going to bring it way down in volume. And now we have a kind of anticipation of the note as we start to hear it fade in. It's probably a little bit long right now, so maybe like this. Now it can also be panned, just because the lead synth starts panned. I'm going to bend this a little bit, and it can be panned, you know, pretty hard. Let's put it maybe 80 over. Let's bring the reverb up on it too, maybe to like -1 or something, so that it's quite buried there. It's a little bit quiet, so let's bring that up in volume. Okay, so we're good on that. I'm just going to delete this over here, remove the automation we had to do to make it happen. One other thing we're going to do is duplicate this whole loop. And on the second time around the loop, we will change this pattern so that it doesn't end here, but comes up to this note instead, just for some variation. If you wanted, you could even flip the panning, which might be kind of cool. Like this one ended on the left, and then this one can, for instance, begin on the left. So we could drag this up like this, and then come down to the right. So by doing that, they kind of have like a coherence together. One has a lower note, one has a higher note, one goes right to left, one goes left to right. They kind of match and mirror each other, and I don't know, it adds to the overall artistic vibe of the thing.